So let's talk about when the impacts of this on the American consumers are going to be a bit lagging. And I guess, is it a couple of months? I assume a lot of American businesses have stocked up on inventory, right? Some prepared for these tariffs. Yeah, there was enough time perhaps to stock up. So when do you start to expect to see the true impact of the tariff war in your data that you use to analyze the health of the American economy?
I think it starts showing up in the next few weeks, for certain items like perishable items, food, that we
Mm-hmm.
bring across the border, may start
A lot
seeing
of
higher price
produce in particular, right?
produce, right? I
Yeah.
mean, there's been some exemptions for that kind of trade with Mexico and Canada, so it's been a bit muted, but
Mm-hmm.
that's going to show up first. And then I think by Memorial Day, we'll all kind of sense it, and by July 4th, it'll be in our face. I mean, if you want to go buy a car, you'll
Mm-hmm.
have to pay more for that car at that point. Consumer electronics, furniture, clothing. So it's not like this. One day you wake up and then all the price that you'll see all the inflation and price increases. It'll take time, but I think cumulatively by July 4th, everyone will be well aware of that they're paying higher prices for lots of imported goods.
Do you see any evidence yet that companies are saying, okay, I'm going to move some manufacturing here to the United States, or is there still a lot more in wait and see mode?
No, I mean you hear announcements. Hyundai announced
Mm-hmm.
something for an investment in South Carolina. Nvidia, the big AI
Right.
chip company, announced that they're going to make big investments here. But if history is any guide, those are just announcements of things that would have happened anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And even if they do make an announcement, it's not clear they'll follow through. Do you remember Foxconn? That was a
Oh
big
yeah.
tech
Yeah.
manufacturer,
Still
$10
waiting for
billion
that to
dollar
be built.
deal.
Right.
Yeah, remember that? And Trump
Yep.
won, and they never followed through. I mean, there's something there now, but it's
Right.
a shadow of what it was. And the state of Wisconsin actually came up with tax benefits as well. So no, and that doesn't make sense that they would, right? I mean, if you're a
Mm-hmm.
CEO of a major global manufacturer, how can you make a decision about making an investment here that will come to fruition, say 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years from now? Because it takes a long time to build and
Right.
expand these
There'll be a different
facilities.
administration. You don't know what right? I mean, isn't that
Yeah,
the issue? Yeah.
yeah. I mean, what's the tariff going to be? I mean, these are done under executive order. They can be
Mm-hmm.
changed with a stroke of the pen, and they are being changed. It's not in legislation. So you're sitting there, you go, well, I don't have any idea. And then there's no transparency around all the exemptions and carve outs, who's getting a deal, who's not getting a
Mm-hmm.
deal. So you have no sense of where you stand relative to your competition or others. You're just not going to act on that. So I'd be very surprised, dumbfounded if we saw any significant pickup of investment here.
How many companies do you think have decided, look, this is no way to run a global economy, but how many companies are going to behave in Darwinistic fashion, meaning, well, I'm going to go get mine. I'm going to do what it takes to get my exemption. I'm going to save my business. What do I got to do? Do I got to write a check to his inaugural committee, to this library fund? What's your expectation? And I guess how do you price that into your analysis?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not even nefarious. It's that's the
Oh, it's out in the open.
yeah. I mean, it's the fiduciary. The CEO will argue it's my fiduciary responsibility. I got to play the
God, I just don't
yeah.
get me started on that. It's done a number on journalism these days. But
Yeah,
anyway, but I
right. But
digress.
you hear I'm a publicly traded company. I have
Yeah,
shareholders, and my
right.
obligation is to maximize the profits of the
Value.
company for that
Yeah.
shareholder. What am I supposed to do in the context that I'm in the world that I'm living in?
Oh, and shareholders
Yeah,
will sue if you don't. I mean, that
yeah,
is a truth. I mean, that
right.
is not
So
we're not just saying it. There is some truth to this.
yeah, but I do think companies this affects behavior. I mean, right
Right.
now what's happening is companies are sitting on their hands because they have no idea, how this is
So
going
we're
to play out.
consumers. I mean, look, it's all anecdotal, but just in my own neighborhood, I know of re- people that have decided not to put their house on the market. They were
Oh,
retiring. You're just sort of everybody's cautious. So
yeah.
if individuals are cautious about what are considered big purchases in their life, I assume every corporation in the world is cautious in the moment.
Absolutely. And it's not like they're cutting yet. It's not that.
No, it's wait and see, right?
Wait and see. I mean, they're not hiring. If you look at hiring rates, they're
Yeah.
way down. So that's the first thing you do if you're a business. You stop hiring people,
You'll
and
stop
we've
filling
seen
heads, right? Empty heads
yeah,
stay empty for a while. Yep.
and then you cut hours, and we've seen some of that. And then you stop
Mhm.
using temp help, and you've seen a lot of that. The next
Mhm.
thing that happens is layoffs, and if that happens, then we're in recession. Because
Right.
that puts scared consumers into the bunker. They stop spending, or we're in a self-reinforcing negative cycle.
Well, and we already have the government cuts, which are really attacking the middle class. Like
Yeah,
I mean, that seems to be the real damage this could do to the economy is that government work has been the path to the middle class for so many. And
right.
to just gut that feels a bit self-defeating to our economy.
Oh yeah, I mean, I mean, if you look at the numbers, I mean, the Doge cuts have really been quite small, modest. I
Mhm.
mean,
So far, yeah.
so far, but you're right. Certainly, government is no longer a place to go if you want a job.
Right.
You're losing jobs,
Or if you're
and
looking for
they are,
security, because government was
yeah,
always security. You traded the ability to make a huge salary with instead public service and a more secure retirement.
right. And perhaps even the more important thing from a broader economic perspective is these folks do real things that really matter.
Yeah.
Like tell me where the hurricane's going to hit, or is
Right.
the air traffic system safe, or is there going to be an E. coli breakout, and what should I do about it? And measles in Texas. I mean, on and on and on.
Of course.
Yeah, and those things are critical to a to a
Mhm.
happy American population, but also to a well-functioning economy. So those are the things that are you just can't calculate that. You don't know,
Mhm.
but it does feel like the path we're on, something is going to break that is a real consequence out there that's going to have real meaning to the economy.
I want to focus on China a second because if the goal was to weaken China, um, we had done that over the last decade, I'd argue. It seems as if when you look at what he was dealing with his middle class, what he was dealing with his the housing market in China, um, and there's a part of me, just geopolitical terms, feels as if Trump weirdly has handed Xi a lifeline, a political lifeline at least, because now he can tell his domestic audience that it's America's fault that this economy is weak right now, because it's been a weak economy in China for what they were used to for some time, and he's actually going to be right. Like it's not just an
Yeah,
excuse. Like it's
yeah.
act. Um, what was the state of the Chinese economy domestically? How fragile had it become? And is this going to do more harm, or does he get this political stability from what Trump's doing?
Yeah, the Chinese economy clearly was struggling. It was a very weak growth. Unemployment is up. All kinds
Mhm,
of kind of more persistent structural problems in the property markets, real estate, housing values were falling. They have big demographic issues. The population
mhm,
is declining. Of course, they don't get many immigrants, if any. In an autocratic government isn't really at all conducive to a well-functioning market economy, and I think they were figuring that out. He had
mhm,
put a chill over a lot of the tech companies and others that are key to innovation and long-term
mhm.
economic growth. So there's a lot of things just kind of going off the rails, and it looked like the Chinese economy was being diminished. But I agree. I do think this trade war, particularly with China, is reinvigorating that Xi's standing. I mean, I think
Mhm.
the people are like in many other parts of the world, rallying around their flag, and saying
Yeah.
we're being attacked. This is a war, and they're rallying around the flag. So, and at the end of the day, I think that the President Trump is underestimating the leverage the Chinese have here. I mean,
Mhm.
his thought was that because the U.S. runs this trade deficit and we stop buying, that's going to kill their manufacturing and their economy. But the Chinese have a lot other things going on, and they can redivert that trade. They can buy soybeans from Brazil, and they can
Right.
send their machine tools to Germany. So and they have more fiscal and monetary resources than we do because their fiscal situation is a lot better than ours, and the Fed's not going to cut interest rates here. They're cutting the PBOC, the central bank there is cutting rates. So they have a lot of leverage here, and they're going to use it. And so this is this may actually reinvigorate China, make them more of a problem, a long run for the U.S. than if we hadn't gone down this path.